We're here at FG Solicitors to talk to Floyd Graham this morning about modern business and what he thinks is changing in the world of work. Floyd, can you tell us who you are and a little bit about your business?
Yeah, my name is Floyd Graham and I'm the managing principal of FG Solicitors Ltd. FG Solicitors are a company that specialises in advising employers about optimising employee performance and providing them with confidence to take difficult employment decisions. We manage risk. We allow employers to take those decisions with confidence.
You deal with businesses from all walks of life. What would you say today is a modern business?
Well, I think businesses now operate in a macro environment that depends on the movement of information almost instantaneously. Yeah, so I would describe a modern business as one that has a consistent IT infrastructure. So for instance, they've got security over their data, they've got the immediacy of retrieval of data, and they've got remote access to data. So any business that operates in that way, that cascades down to the employment infrastructure. We live in a climate of flexible working, different needs, and therefore you might get more optimized employment outcomes if your employees are able to work remotely. An example would be where they would have long commutes. That is dead time if they can't get access to work. So remote access is important, and that allows them to be far more productive. I really think that managing a business these days is all about managing information, no matter what that happens to be, your customer information, your employee information. You imagine I'm always on the road, and equally I'm responsible for, as the chief executive of this business, for making sure everything's working as well. So most of my life is on my little Apple thingy. And, it's great.
That's the portal to everything. In the last 5 years, what changes have Floyd Graham Solicitors had to make to modernise, and where do you think, if you hadn't made those changes, what do you think the business would look like now?
Right. Well, as you can imagine, lawyers are all about paperwork. Historically, it's difficult for me as a lawyer to believe something if it isn't in writing and I can't touch and feel it. So, but that has a consequence, because as your client base grows, so does the paper mountain. So even taking an environmental perspective, you would want to save a tree or two, hopefully for my kids. So one of the first things we implemented was a document scanning platform. So all of our documents that come into the firm now, we have the software and the infrastructure to be able to hold them digitally. That also means the remote access I talked about earlier is possible anywhere, because if a client telephones me, be it on the road or in the office, I can access their documents through our portal and talk to them in real time. So no time is lost in them going to find the documents or me having to wait to get back to the office. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that the security of our operation is paramount to clients and to us. So if we have original documents, although we physically make sure we have fireproof arrangements, etc., all of these things are scanned. We use ACS to archive and store all that documentation, and they tell me it's in some bunker somewhere 7 miles under the ground. But by moving away from physical paper storage in hard files to digitizing things has transformed our business. It also means that we can have multi-party sharing no matter where we are. So if another lawyer is involved in a matter and they happen to be away from the office, video conferencing has also assisted us to respect our carbon footprint and make sure that we're not driving all over the place if we don't need to.
Do you have any tips for businesses when they're trying to engage with the younger generation? So whether that's kind of getting them on board and into their workplace, and how they're having to change to adopt that. Obviously, you said you deal with the HR structures of businesses. Are there tips that you give to your clients around that?
I think when you're my age, you go back to a time when you expected all people in areas of responsibility to be old men or women with grey hair and twin set clothes. So really we're planning for the future now, and what I'd say to companies is, where we're used to, felt tip pens and whiteboards, and the computer is something we had to learn about. Our young people today are born speaking that language. If I want to understand how my phone works, I hand it to my 7-year-old daughter, and she will explain it far better than I ever could. So I think that if you embrace the IT possibilities that exist within your company, and they don't have to be prohibitive in terms of cost. Some simple things, the medium of communication for people from 17 upwards these days is going to be YouTube and Twitter and Snapchat and tweeting and all of those things. And I think businesses need to abandon the shackles of conformity of this is the way we've always done it, and they need to be a bit more adventurous. They need to want to take a chance and give young people a chance. Today I have an interview with 2 apprentices to join this business. They're 17 years old, and law firms are traditional, and some people might argue even stuffy. But if we can give them a shot, I think anybody can. And they're going to be the leaders and managers of the future. It's
learning from each other, isn't it? So like the older generations and the people that are running the businesses teach the younger generations that are coming in, okay, this is business practice, this is how you behave in a business. But then they're also teaching the people existing within the business, you could do this really quickly by doing it this way, and it's opening.
And they bring passion and mischief and all the things that you forget as you get older, which is great if you want to create a business that's attractive to the outside world, because those people are embracing youngsters, so we should as well. It's a good currency.
Is there anything you specifically do here to encourage well-being at work and make your staff feel?
Well, I think that's a really broad church, and it stems from physical activity. Well, you only have to look at me to see I don't have gym membership, and if I do, I don't use it. But a lot of our staff do, and we actively support that endeavour. But for us, well-being is about making sure that your workforce has the ability to be challenged in a constructive way. So everything from how they're trained and developed to the clarity of the journey for their improvement and advancement within a business all contributes to well-being. So, a lot of people may see well-being as, running half marathon for charity and all of those things. We think it's important to have psychological, mental and physical well-being, and that starts with creating a constructive, productive environment for work.
When you speak to people, if you could summarise FG Solicitors as a workplace, what would you say? Well,
I'd say we employ people who could work anywhere because they're the brightest that are out there, but they choose to work here. And they choose to work here because of a nurturing, collegiate, supporting environment. We're like a little family, really. We exist to provide solutions to business. And I suppose our reason for existing is to provide confidence to companies who employ people, not just you know, when things go wrong, we like to be at the forefront of their strategic thinking to ensure that they have the right infrastructure to grow and develop their people. Because if you employ people, they're likely to be your best and your most expensive resource, worth the effort.